What's up, everybody? It's Porsche coming from the InsideOut.com. So I did want to come and kind of have a discussion on something that has been taking place within California's prisons. So it's something that I think a lot of people who are incarcerated have been struggling with. And then also a lot of people's family members who know about it because CDCR has not made it they haven't made it state news, national news. This is not something that's being put out publicly. So the huge change is that CDCR has started to blend SNY, sensitive need yards, which we all know as protective custody or PC yards, with GP yards, which is general population. If you hear those acronyms used later, then you'll know what it means. So SNY, sensitive needs, PC, protective custody, or GP, general population. Meaning that all the gang dropouts, rapists, child molesters, the people that we normally on the streets, if we hear, oh, they, hurt or raped or molested someone's children, we know like, oh, they're going to prison, they're going to take care of their ass, excuse my language, but that's, they're going to take care of them when they get to prison. And then, they end up PC'd, protective custody up, and that's how they have to live and survive the rest of their prison term. CDCR has now decided that nobody gets protective custody. Everybody has to be able to live together in general population, which in turn is causing a lot of issues. So because this is not being talked about, what I decided to do is have a guest, someone who is actually incarcerated, someone who knows firsthand what exactly is going on inside. He is a level 4 offender, I guess. That's what level he's on, which if you guys don't know, there's like level 1, 2s, which are basically like less violent. Their behavior is a little bit better. And then it goes up, and the higher the number, pretty much the behavior is worse or considered worse. So he's a level 4 offender. He is going to kind of explain what has been going on inside of prisons and how this change has affected everything. And then also, sometime in the middle of this, we're going to play an exclusive commercial that only plays inside of the prison. So this commercial has never been seen outside of prison. It only plays inside. So technically it's a CDCR in custody commercial. We're going to play that. This is how CDCR chose to introduce the merging of the yards to the incarcerated population versus us out here. We ain't got no news on this, but it is something that we should be very made aware of, because for anyone that has friends, family members, even if you don't, the violence that is occurring because of this is something that needs to be talked about, and CDCR is well aware of what they're causing, but they know no one else knows about it, so they're able to kind of do this under our noses and get away with it. So with that being said, we're going to bring in our guest, and I'll kind of let him express some of the things that's been going on, and then we'll take a little break and watch the commercial. So you can go ahead and introduce yourself however you choose to.
All right, hello. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in. And yeah, I did want to speak on this, and I appreciate the platform because it's something that's relevant up to date what's happening, and it's really affecting the way we live in here. So everything you were saying was pretty accurate, and just to further elaborate on the levels of institutions, like level 1 and level 2 are minimum facilities to where it prevents people from level 3 and 4 from getting there due to behavioral conduct. So level 4 is the absolute worst of the worst. No matter what you do on the streets, and once you get to prison, the worst place they can send you is to a level 4 maximum security yard, and that's where I've been housed at during my whole duration of incarceration. But so
hold on one second. I'm sorry. I apologize. I'm sorry for the brief interruption. Go ahead. You can continue where you left off.
Okay, so up to date, traditionally, there's been inmates that come and everyone's afforded the opportunity to go to a general population mainline type of setting. But there's individuals whose crimes prevent them from doing so, or there's individuals who wind up coming to the general population yard, staying there for a duration of time, getting themselves in some trouble, and they wind up on the SNY yard or protective custody yard by choice for safety concern reasons or paranoia, whatever. So that's the reason behind both yards is to segregate or to separate both of them to prevent violence. Because it's like one side can't mingle in with the other side, and that's why the yards was designated to keep it a functioning type of environment for these inmates to do their time and rehabilitate themselves and parole. Now, me, like I said, on the general population yard, and I've seen a lot of the guys that I encountered in here go to the SNY yards, and the moment they chose to take that direction, that pretty much ceased our communication at all. That's a whole
Right.
different lifestyle. So, in reality, what's happening now is this: the all these laws that are being passed that's benefiting the individuals who's incarcerated and giving these guys hope, the ones that have life sentences and never thought about coming home, these laws are behavioral based. So in order for someone to actually get paroled or granted relief from one of these laws, they have to refrain from infractions in prisons, RBR, which is write-ups like disciplinary actions, things like that. They have to pretty much walk a straight line. Now,
Correct.
it's happened for the last couple of years. People have been successfully staying out of trouble and being paroled. Recently, CDCR, in an attempt to show headquarters in Sacramento and the public that inmates will be inmates, they have chosen to go against the policy that they set in place to protect these guys. They set this SNY protected the custody yard, protect a faction of inmates from the inmates that they couldn't be housed around. Fast forward all these years later, now they are removing that protection and saying, making these guys come back to these yards that they no longer are able to function properly, safely, or positively on. And what
Why
that's
can't they
doing,
function properly on them?
uh, because prison has some antisocial norms. Prison, the way it is, it's a judgmental place, and once you betray this side, it's pretty much you have to stay on the side that you chose. You got
Basically, you're
people.
saying they can't live that way because of prison politics.
Absolutely, like you said in the beginning, when somebody commits a crime on the street that's heinous, like against a child, against a woman, and they get sent to prison, it's a well-known fact that once they get to prison, they're going to have an uphill battle, right? And the uphill battle is the general population yard,
So, what
because
about
those
the
guys
people
that
that did not commit a heinous crime? The people
so
that
and they want.
just weren't built to survive in prison, so they decide to PC, which we like, it's been a known statement. I think anybody that knows anything about prison knows that if you choose the protective custody life, you are no longer welcome to merge or mingle with general population. But what I'm saying is, because I know that's what comes up a lot. Oh, they're rapists or they're child molesters. What about the people who are not?
Okay, so the people that are not, once you get to a general population yard, there's rules that you have to follow, and for that individual not to fall in place with those rules, he is considered as the guys that he's not. So he's going to have to go to the other side of the field, which is the SNY protective custody yards. But I mean, if you come to prison and you mind your own and you live up to the standards of being on the general population mainline, then you shouldn't have no problem going home. It's just the people that come and are accident prone due to self-destructive behavior or individuals that just have tendencies that get themselves in trouble. Those would be the ones that wind up on the protected custody yard off of the general population yard because they did something themselves. But some people are intimidated and know that they have these triggers. So before they even have the option to reach a general population yard, they just don't. They don't roll the dice. They just go to the protected custody yard out of fear of being injured.
So, um, when you guys found out, how long has it been since they started to do this merge?
So they've been doing this recently. This is something that's been transpiring about the last year. And what I was getting to earlier was saying by them now removing that veil of protection over the protected custody inmates and fusing them back into the general population, it is assuring that the violence statistics will rise because they know prison politics. They know that these guys can't be around these guys. So if they force these guys to be around these guys, then what happens? That means the violence goes up, the statistics goes up, so they're able to show Sacramento and the public that these inmates are going to be inmates.
So what
Even
you're
though
trying
these
to say
laws that's
is that with the implementation of the youth offender, they're saying that this is a part of Prop 57. So 261, 1437, all of these new Senate bills and props that have passed recently, what you're saying is that CDCR in turn is trying to essentially use this information to use the SNYs, I want to say, to promote violence on the yards so that in future reference they can
use that information to deny us all parole, the ones that want to come home, the ones that
promote violence on the yard, not use the
right,
information. You're saying that they are promoting violence because they know when they place these protective custody inmates essentially on yards that are general pop in level 3 and level 4, 1, 2, 3, and 4 yards, that essentially they're gonna be hurt.
absolutely, the chance of violent encounter is at an all-time high, and then with that violent encounter comes paperwork documenting the
I'm sorry, everybody. We took a quick break. So go ahead. We were talking about CDCR basically, as your opinion is that CDCR is basically, or they have found a way to control the violence on the yards, and in turn that is going to stop or put a halt to a lot of the people that will be released due to all of these new props and senate bills that have come out, because now the people that would have been getting out because they have not been getting in trouble due to prison politics and the rules of how general population works in prison, they will, if they come in contact with a person that's considered protective, cut PC, SNY, then they will hurt them, right?
Yes, and I want to say that it's not necessarily my opinion. This is more like popular opinion amongst the general population, and also like the guys that they're putting on these yards are not necessarily a prison political type of ordeal because it's like in our eyes a manly thing. If you put a person on my yard who has raped a child, I wouldn't care if I was on the streets or incarcerated. I'm still going to take action on that individual once that information becomes known. So they're so like I said, they're looking at the bills that are being passed. They're offering inmates all of this relief on a behavioral type condition. Then on the flip side, they're putting the inmates in a position where they're going to have to get violent because of the
They're
prison
putting them in a
culture.
position,
Because
or
they're going to have
they have a choice.
because of the prison culture and the way that it's happening on general population main lines, there's certain things that make it general population. There's certain standards, there's certain laws that have to be abided by in order for this world to exist. And one of the laws is individuals that are in that category cannot come to this world. And it's hard for the free people to understand. I understand that as well. But this is what makes this world work. This is a different world than every world that anyone's listening lives in, because it's a world that's controlled by violence. That's what the solution to any discrepancy results to is violence, because that's what people understand. That's what got them here. And this is a monster that was created well before my time here and the time before the guy before me. But so once these inmates are put in a position to where they have to act in the response that's necessary with prison, which is violence in this situation, then they use that information, those statistics that's built up off of that violent increase, it trickles all the way down to the board hearing. So the board individuals, you go into a board hearing and you got put in a situation to where you have to get involved in one of these shenanigans that's going on with the CDCR, and then the way the board's looking at it is the way this video that we're going to introduce to everyone listening is going to look at it, which makes complete sense. I want to highlight the fact that everything being said in this video makes sense.
And I was just about to speak about that because, especially along with what we've talked about in the last 15 minutes, this video is going to sound like it makes 100. It does make sense. It's going to sound like it makes sense. And actually, like, I am going to cut here and play the video. It does make sense. And we'll talk about what it does make sense about and what it does not make sense about after the fact. But yeah, you guys go ahead and pay attention to this video. It is a video that plays in California's prisons all over California, and it is the way that they were introduced to the fact that CDCR is going to be merging SNYRs to general population. So go ahead and take a look.
In the general population and place them on yards designated as SNY where they could safely program with similarly situated inmates. While good intentioned, the SNY program has not worked. New gangs have emerged and violence has increased. Having duplicate mental health and medical programs within SNY and GP yards is inefficient and impedes our ability to comply with these court-mandated services. These duplicate yards are also impacting our ability to provide programming. In this period of significant criminal justice reform, we have an opportunity to begin fixing the SNY problem, and we are doing just that. We are creating a system where inmates are responsible for their own conduct. And with that change, we expect inmates to behave just like people do in free society. When you complete your sentence and are paroled, there is no SNY and GP distinction. When you access programs in the community, there is no SNY and GP programs. Jobs in the community do not differentiate between such categories. If you want to take advantage of the opportunities that the system has created for you as an individual and return to your family, you must have the strength of character to focus on yourself. This is a unique time in California thanks to the reforms brought about by Proposition 57. It has created increased credit earning for positive behavior, early parole consideration for thousands of nonviolent inmates, milestone completion credit for accomplishing educational and CTE programs, rehabilitative achievement credit for participating in self-help programs, educational merit credit for earning your high school diploma or college degree. In addition, the governor has granted parole to over 5,000 lifers and commuted many sentences. The department has referred a number of cases to the courts for resentencing due to positive programming. The department has approved thousands of behavior overrides to get inmates with sustained positive behavior to lower-level prisons and increase programming opportunities. Expanded programs to increase inmate employment opportunities in the prison and in the community. And for the first time in history, inmates are actually taking state employment exams inside the prisons so they can have a livable wage when they parole. Youth offenders with little hope of ever getting out of prison are going before the board, and many are granted parole under the new youth offender laws. Ex-offenders are coming into prisons to talk to inmates about their success stories and how they made it on the outside. With all of this reform and opportunity, you have to make a decision as an individual. For example, if you are a minimum support facility inmate earning 2 days off your sentence for every day of incarceration, do you choose to program and earn milestone credits, rehabilitative achievement credits, and educational merit credits to get out even earlier? If you're a level 2 inmate, you also have to make a decision. Do you choose to program and earn those credits to get to your family quicker? If you want to allow prison politics to dictate when you get home to your family, then that is your choice too. We are implementing the non-designated yards because it's the right thing to do for you as an individual and for public safety. The SNY problem lingered too long, but now we are moving forward. We are changing certain level 1 and 2 institutions and some level 3 institutions to non-designated facilities. These facilities are intended to provide an environment focused on positive rehabilitative programming for inmates who abstain from violence. We are starting the transition with level 1 and 2 facilities since they already house a large population of inmates who are already programming. This is a big change for everyone, and we intend to do this safely. Talk with staff and make the decision that's right for you and your family. My simple message to you is this: we at CDCR are committed to preparing you for successful reentry into society. Take full advantage of these rehabilitative opportunities available to you. Choose rehabilitation and a positive life, not prison politics. In the general
All right, so we're back. How did you guys all generally like the commercial, or what did you think about it? Before we really dive back into it and talk, my guest was kind of expressing his opinion of the video, and I cut him off because I knew we were about to play the video, so I didn't want too much to be shared. So I'm gonna let him go back in from where he left off and be able to express fully what he thinks about the commercial. Go ahead.
Thank you. Thank you. I was saying it makes complete sense of what they're saying as a when on the streets there is no SNY or there's no general population. So while in prison, they're trying to get us to see it from that angle. But so we understand the fact that there's no segregation like that on the streets. Who knows what your neighbor is? Who knows what this guy going to the liquor store may have in his past? We don't know that information, and that is part of the problem. We don't know the information, so we won't be able to act on whatever it is that he has in his past. But these individuals that they're trying to reintegrate into this yard are well known, whatever they are, pedophiles, rapists, whatever the case may be, they're well known. So we are fully aware of their crimes and the details of what they've done, and that's what makes it almost impossible for us to turn our heads to it, you know. And CDCR, the way they worded it in that video is they're appealing to the free crowd, like the people on the street that can look at it and be like, yeah, you know what, you're right. Those guys should be able to maintain a level of discipline and don't worry about what the next person got going on and just do their time to go home, right? But on the flip side of that is this is a different world. So a lot of these guys that's incarcerated are incarcerated for retaliation on dudes like them that did things like that to their family on the streets. And when they get around anybody with that same type of history or background, that happens.
What happened?
So, what happens is the general population law takes its course. We don't have those kind of guys.
What I'm going to say is that, yeah, like you said, it makes sense to the outside world, as you call it, free world. And it does. It makes sense what he's saying. But I also just from, being the little bit involved in the prison community as I am, I also do know that this is in turn causing a lot of violence. Now, I'm not going to say that I agree with the fact that, that because a person gets thrown on a yard or whatever else case means that they should be attacked. I'm not going to say that. But I also do think that protective custody should still be there. There's clearly for years and years and years and years back been a protective custody, and it was there for a reason. You know, when these men were involved with gangs and they decided to change their life for the better, they drop out. They have to go to protective custody to save their life. You know what I mean? So now these men, these same men that dropped out to save their life, might have told on people or whatever else. You know what I mean? Who knows how that works? Cooperation, as they call it. Now they are back on yards with the people that they told on. So of course they're going to get hurt. Snitches get stitches. We all know what time it is. You know what I mean? So I feel like it is almost common sense that they are going to there's going to be some violence, and the way that they're wording it is like, okay, well, we're making it up to you. Do you want to go home, or do you want to hurt these people? But it's almost like they know it's inevitable. So I see exactly what you're saying by you saying that California now has a way to control the violence within their prisons. because they know, okay, we're going to release this, 10 to 20 people. This one is a dropout of, North Daniels, and he has to now go to the general population with all these North Daniels that he done dropped out from. They're going to kill him. Because that's not even just prison politics, that's gang war politics. You know what I mean? So I definitely can see both angles. Now, I also want to bring up, because just from speaking to other people in prison, because he also said, okay, well, this is available, and if you go to classes and things of that such nature, then you get released early. So they're making it seem like all of this stuff is available. But I spoke with, and you were around during this conversation, I spoke with someone just earlier today, and they said they've been in prison for 5 to 6 odd years and have applied over and over and over and over to go to these programs and have never once been afforded the opportunity. How often do you see that?
I see that extremely often. As much as they propagate, there's so many rehabilitative programs in prison. While that might have some truth to it, the actual getting on that road to go to that class is it's very hard. It's not an easy process of just signing up and then, hey, you get a deduction saying you're going to this program. No, you go into a waiting list, and that waiting list, like I said, like you just said, there's guys that's been waiting 5 to 6 years to get to the programs that are mandated by the board, such as the programs that are. And they haven't ever attended these classes because it's that hard to actually get involved in these programs, and it's depending on the institution that you're in. But what
And
they
you
did try to do in
saying
the
some of the programs are mandated, meaning what?
meaning that the courts state, well, the courts and the parole board have an agreement to where this inmate has to take this program in order to be released from prison. It's like it's a mandatory. The parole board actually checks specifically to see if you had completed
Unless
that
what?
course.
Unless they max out?
No, there is no. And these are only for people that go up to the parole board. So that means people with indeterminate terms, such as life sentences, or if a person has, say, he has 100 years, but one of the new bills, such as Senate Bill 261, allows him to be paroled on an earlier date. When he goes before that board, that panel of parole board hearings, he's going to have to be able to say he took this program in order for them to consider him to be released. But if he has a release date, if they say, hey, you get out this date, you don't have to take no rehabilitative courses. They're not going to even, they're not going to force you. They're not even going to offer. It's really up on you to take the initiative to get involved yourself. But if you have a release date that's established, say 2 years from now, if you don't catch any cases inside that's going to add on to your time, then you'll be released on that date, whether or not you took this course or not. So that's specifically pertaining to people that have to appear before a parole board to be paroled. And what they did do is on the SNY protective custody yards, the administration loves to put all of the programs that you need in order to be paroled on those facilities to, I'm not going to say deliberately punish the ones that's some general population, but they do use it as almost a lure, like, hey, if you need this program to parole, we have it on this yard, but you have to go over there to take it. And then, people who
Well, y'all don't got to worry about that no more with them being, with them not having the yard, because that's another thing he was trying to say, that the fact that they were running it on those yards, which why were they, you know what I mean? I can understand he was saying they were running duplicate programs. So one here, one there. But what you're saying is no, they were never running one here, one there. They were choosing to run programs on one yard that wasn't available on the next.
Yes, and I want to try to provide rationale for this, just so you can fully understand how deep this goes. Because, like he said, if you're willing to program on the streets where there's no GPS and Y, then how come you can't do it in prison? Now, let's put this in perspective here. Say that I'm getting a visit, and I have 2 children, my daughter and my son, with me.
Yeah, I absolutely want to speak about this later.
I know okay, you want to go now or later?
Go ahead.
Okay, so I know for a fact this guy a couple of chairs down has been convicted of certain crimes, that involve children. Now we're in the visitor room setting, and then, how am I supposed to react to this? This is going to make the atmosphere so negative, knowing that you have this type of circumstance at hand. And that right there alone is going to prevent us from ever mingling with.
So normally, let me ask you this. Normally, how do protective custody or SNYs, how do Are you saying that their visits were separated?
I'm saying that no, they're
Normally,
SNY
before
protective
this
custody.
merge happened, how were their visits conducted normally?
Okay, prior to this merge, their visit was conducted on their facility with their peers. They had there was never no intermingling with general population at all. We have absolutely zero contact with these individuals for security purposes, what they're now trying to wipe away. But for instance, say if I'm being escorted to a medical duct, and say there's a protective custody inmate that's being escorted to another to a duct as well. We're on two complete facilities, so I won't see him nowhere near my daily activities. But if we were to even get on a bus together, say if they was to try to sit us on a bus where you transported to a different institution, they would put him in a cage and have me sitting loosely because they know even if they put him outside that cage and set him next to me, that it would be an incident. So with them having full knowledge of the no coexisting law that exists in prison when it comes down to SNY and GP, and here they are, like they did on that video, trying to tell you that they're going to infuse the two. That sounds like a recipe for disaster.
So for everyone, this is the situation that he is saying. And I don't know about all of you guys. I, of course, have visited a prison. My husband is in prison currently, and I do have children. So what he is saying is because of this merge also. Now, everyone knows this is not something that's just in California. Any sex offender, for the most part, has to register as a sex offender. They're not allowed to be around schools. They're not generally allowed to be around children in a close proximity if they are child offenders, even if they're sex offenders from assaulting an adult. They're not allowed to be around children in close proximity that do not belong to them. In some cases, not even their own. What he is saying is, which I think also is a violation, and from the InsideOut.com or Prison from the Inside Out Incorporated might have to do a little bit of research on this because this could be a way to petition what California is doing. If I go to a visit, my children are now in this room, and the person sitting directly next to me could be a child murderer, a child rapist, anything of the nature of a person that hurt or wanted to somehow hurt a child for pleasure, sexual, any kind of reason, an offender that wanted to do something wrong or did do something wrong to a child. And there's nothing that we can do as parents, and there's nothing that they can do as offenders, which should make everyone uncomfortable. That's not okay. Yes, I do know that when you bring your family or whoever into a prison to visit, you are taking risk. But when these people get out of prison, are not going to be allowed to be around the regular population's atmosphere, why are you allowing them the accountability while they're there? It's almost like you're appeasing to them. While they're in prison, you get to sit right next to a child. And I don't think that's okay. So that's one reason. That's one thing I do actually agree with, and I think I am going to look a little bit further into that. I do want to say this because I didn't say it when we came back on. The man who is in the video, the commercial, that was CDCR's secretary. His name is Scott Kernan. He did retire. There's now a new secretary for CDCR, and his name is Ralph M. Diaz. He came into his position earlier this year. There is a couple other bases that I wanted to touch, just because I know that it's important and it kind of runs concurrent with this. The way that it was explained in the video kind of says that they, kind of slowly introduced it to the population by entering into level 1 and level 2 yards, which when I first heard about it and I watched the commercial, I was like, okay, that sounds good. At least they're trying to slowly integrate it. They're integrating it into yards where clearly they're less violent, as I explained earlier in the video. And that way, this, will maybe be able to work. This is something I learned after, because I was kind of against it at first, and I watched the video and I was swayed. And as I'm going back and forth, I'm not swayed. I do think the video is a good sell. I think what it's saying makes sense, but I also am very aware of what it is causing, which makes me go towards the other side. If this is something that they are going to do, then the way that they are going about it is wrong, and it should not be a secret because people are dying and they're not talking about it. So with that being said, I want you guys to hear about what prison politics have now called to action because they are refusing to live with a merged population. So I'm gonna let my guests explain what is happening and what law basically has been called to occur because PCs, SNYs are now merged with level 1 and level 2 yards. So level 3 and 4s have created a law, I guess, as I don't know what to call it, but this is what ruling has been called. Go ahead.
Well, I will say, of course, as a GP inmate, I am completely against that commercial. For the fact of I am witnessing what is happening as they try to implement these policies and have these guys come here. I think it's just an unnecessary maneuver when this far into the game. This is something that they should have tried to do at a different, not at a different time, but in a different way. Just throwing these guys on this yard and then trying to say, hey, coexist or ruin your release date, that is not the solution because you put people in the bind to where they got to choose either or, and it's not going so well. But like you said, they are starting with the lower level facilities, knowing that the lower level facilities have more to lose than the ones that don't have anything to lose in the higher facilities. So level 1s and level 2s are the ones that they're trying to infiltrate with this new regulation that they got going on. And in adverse, what's happening is if that level 1 or level 2 allows these guys to program on their yards, then they essentially are accepting the terms of having those guys present. And, down the line, that may come back and be a mistake on their behalf because it's just shunned upon. And it's just something that, like I said, Cdcr is pushing. I think that what needs to happen, I think the guys on SNY yards and the protected custody yards need to refuse to even allow this to happen by not even coming on this side of the fence, forcing or attempting the guys in the general population to do something that's just going to make it bad for everyone. Bad for
I
them,
mean,
physically, bad
technically, you're saying they need to refuse it, but do they have a choice?
They should have a choice because it's their life at stake. I mean, I don't know that process of the game because I'm on this side of the field, but I'm assuming that prior to them being able to come over here with us, there's a high.
I wouldn't think that the people that put themselves over there or gang dropouts or anything like that would be eager to want to come and run and be around people that they know want to kill them.
Right, but you got to think about it. There's also the guys that never gave general population a chance, so they came straight from the streets and went straight into protective custody. And all it takes is a little bit of manipulation from staff to say, hey, you probably can go over there and explain to those guys that you're not a snitch, you're not a child molester, you're not any of that. So maybe they'll give you a chance of staying over there since you want to go home with your head held high. And this individual bites onto that and says, yeah, I'll sign a waiver and I'll go over there and try to present my case. And then he meets his fate, so that he gets in his.
That's the problem, and that's pretty much where I want to leave it at. You know what I mean? That is the problem, that people can be manipulated or talked to or whatever, and end up either way. Right now, this is happening. I've talked to people in multiple prisons, Wasco, Lancaster, all these different prisons in California, and it's happening. People are merged, and in the end result, people are being stabbed, people are being hurt, people are being killed. And what is happening? What are they calling their families and saying? Sorry, protective custody got it got shut down here, and we put your son that dropped out of a gang to better his life back with the people who he was running from, and now he's dead. It's not okay. I do get what they're saying. I do understand that in real life there is no, section off. There's nowhere woo woo. But in the ending result, in real life, you can move. You can leave where you were at to change your life. You can go somewhere far to get away from the people that know you. In prison, you cannot do that. So it's not
And
okay.
and real quick, right? And just to put on record, they knew all of this we were speaking on prior to even creating the SNY protective custody yard. What it really about is they realized that the system that they put in place failed because they moved these guys over there thinking that they, needed that protection, which they did. But what did happen is those guys created gangs over there. They became just as popular as the gangs on the general population yard, and then the
Correct.
rules shifted. So, general population, you have certain rules that as a whole, and in the SNY yard, there is no rules at all. Dog eat dog world. So now the officers over there can't even control these inmates, and they have no one to talk to, like a senior or older homie, OG, shot caller, whatever you want to call it. They have no one to talk to get some sense to these youngsters. So everybody's just running amok. So instead of CDCR trying to address their issue to try to help it out with the way they see it, they're saying, all right, well, since we can't deal with these dudes and they're just lawless like that, throw them back in there with the wolves and let the wolves deal with them. But if the wolves deal with them, then make sure the
Wolves ain't going home. All the new props are failing, and CDCR wins because now there are still people housed in their prisons that they get paid to house.
Precisely.
All right, so I think y'all get the message. Send questions and everything else that you have to the Facebook page, facebook.com/from.ti.out. The handle is the same for the Instagram. Also, check us out on Twitter at FromInside01. And definitely, most importantly, go check out the website from-theinside-out.com. Any questions, make sure you hit us on the Facebook. All right, y'all. Peace. Say bye, guest.
Thank you for paying attention. We appreciate you.
All right, so